Playgasm podcast for June 10th, 2007. I'm Keith Harbort. With me is Nick Maselli.
Ballin'!
And Josh Bicknell.
No, that is Josh Mega Man is the greatest game in history, Bicknell.
I stand corrected.
Are we still recording?
Yeah. So what's up, guys? What have you guys been playing?
It's been way too long since we had a podcast. It's been like a month.
3 weeks, I think.
It's been like 3 weeks and a month.
3 years.
It's been a leap month.
We've had a lot of time to be playing things, but I have a guess that we probably haven't been playing too much new stuff since like nothing has been coming out.
Forza 2.
Alright, so maybe there's new stuff. Alright, Keith, so why don't you go first? What have you been playing?
Forza 2.
The demo, or did you actually buy it?
I bought it. I'm definitely in love with this game. It's everything Gran Turismo should have been. Gran Turismo 2 should have been with the online play. People have been wanting online for a long time with Gran Turismo, and since they didn't get it with the PlayStation 2, they should go to the 360 and get Forza 2.
But doesn't this kind of like cater to a different group of people? Like the Gran Turismo is more arcadey racing, and then Forza's really like hardcore. This is what racing is racing.
Yes and no. Forza 2, there's the career mode, and I would say the game is very sim-ish. I mean, it is simulated racing. There are real-world cars, real-world physics. However, I think if people aren't very good at racing games, they can always stick with the slower cars that maybe have more control and a little bit better grip and handling, and maybe advance as quickly as other more skilled drivers would.
Yeah, I guess. It definitely looks like a game that if you were extremely into cars would like be your bread and butter. With all the options and like
you can go pretty crazy tuning and tweaking your car to get the most out of it for each individual track. But you don't have to. I mean, what you can do is basically throw in a car into a race that's a lot more powerful and a lot better equipped than the other cars you're racing against, and you'll still finish pretty high up there, and you'll still earn credits.
So, did you play the Dirt demo that came out?
Yeah, I played the Dirt demo. It looks pretty good. However, I'm so into Forza right now that I'm going to wait till it comes out on the PS3 probably to see if there are any additional features.
What exactly is your favorite part of Forza 2 so far?
I think my favorite part of Forza 2 is the fact that when you win series of races, you earn cars, and with those cars you can then tweak them and enter other races. It's a lot like Gran Turismo in the sense that you're still competing in races in the single-player offline mode, so you're still going through events and trying to complete the game in that sense. I've only gone online and raced a couple times. That's a lot of fun too, but a lot of times you get punted right off the road by people who are just kind of dicks.
Yeah, I heard about people doing that. They'll just like start off the race and just like pound right into you. Those fucking jerks.
Yeah.
So is it hard online? Like, is everyone pretty damn good online? Like, it's pretty standard with most online games nowadays?
I think it varies. I've heard of some people in other podcasts getting together with other racers who are really clean racers, and they have a lot of good, solid, clean racing. But I think it's kind of a potluck. You know, you don't know what you're going to get until you're online and playing, because there's no real way to categorize a racer ahead of time. You just get in a race and hope your other racers that you're racing with aren't dicks.
Sounds like it's a lot like Mario Kart DS. When you get in a game, it's like, am I going to be in a game with a bunch of snaking faggots, or am I going to be in a game with people that just want to race?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I basically just given up on Mario Kart for the snaking aspect of it, but I definitely know how Keith feels when you're trying to do a serious race and then somebody just pounds right into your side like a jerk.
Well, is it part of the game? Like, does the game kind of want you to do that, or is that just people just kind of doing it?
I think it's mostly people doing it by accident, but every once in a while you get someone who it's pretty obvious that they just don't care for the fact that your car has position on the track, or the fact that their tires are not quite warmed up yet. I mean, it's real world physics, so you have to keep in mind that when you first start out a race, you aren't going to have the same grip on your tires as you would after for a couple laps. So there are people who either don't recognize this fact and drive recklessly the way they would in an arcade game where you just, pound into the side of someone else's car to keep yourself from sliding off the course.
Yeah, so the game's not for me, is basically what you're saying. I would
Probably
hate
not.
that game. I mean, I played the demo, and I'm not a big car game guy enough as it is, but like the fact that it's so like relentless if you don't know how to, control it properly. Yeah, I was flipping out.
It would test your fine motor skills. I mean, you have to, in a lot of cars, you really have to lightly feather the accelerator. You can't just like jam on the trigger and make your wheels spin and take off. It just won't go. So you'll just spin your tires, or you'll even spin your car out completely.
Yeah, I had a whole lot of problems like taking turns. Like, it seems like annoying to me that you have to drop down to like 40 miles an hour just to do these little bends. I mean, it definitely makes sense in the real world, but I'm playing a game, so I kind of want to zip around corners and like Tokyo Drift style and all that shit. But I mean, it's just catering to a different group of people, which, isn't me, I guess.
No, I think that's probably why Forza seems to be doing so well, because there isn't any other game out there right now on a next-gen console that caters to the hardcore sim racing fan. I mean, there's Formula One for the PS3, but I mean, from the demo I played of that, it really didn't look that good. It didn't play that well. But this definitely caters to the people who are going to buy Gran Turismo 4.
So, do you have a racing wheel or want to get a racing wheel for the game at all?
No, I don't think I will. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the 360 controller. It's got rumble, so there's adequate feedback. You can tell if you're starting to slip.
No, feedback. That sounds like a cool feature. Sony, take note.
Yeah.
It's last gen.
Yeah, good call. So, have you been playing anything else, Keith, or is that pretty much your thing now?
Well, I've been playing some Flash games, but that's just to kill some time, waiting on somebody to show up for the podcast.
Ooh.
Don't. Don't. Alright, Josh, how about you go? What have you been playing?
Lately I've been playing some Resistance Fall of Man with you and people from the NeoGaf clan. You know me, I'm not a big fan of console first-person shooters.
But you're getting used to it.
Yeah, through your persistence of bitching at me, I have slowly started to adapt, and I even went out on a limb and played some Halo 3 last night with
Right.
Mark, one of our former podcasters. Yeah. Besides that, I've been playing some Pokemon Diamond, which everybody's sick of hearing about.
Yep.
Yeah. I also picked up Forza 2. I haven't had much of a chance to play it yet. I think the most attractive feature to me is actually like the painting of the cars and the auction house system that they have in place.
The painting's so hard, though.
Yeah, it is.
What is it like? Is it the old school style where you just kind of get a blank palette and then you get like a Microsoft Paint equivalent and then you throw something up there, or how does it work?
Not really. You've basically got decals that you start out with different shapes, some tribal shapes, some regular geometric shapes, and by overlapping layers, you just put together however intricate a design you want. And if you go online and check out some of the auctions or some of the forums, some of the things that people are coming up with are just out of this world, incredibly complicated, and how they did it is way beyond me.
Yeah, there's some insane cars up on there. Like, I've seen some people have made a Metal Gear Solid 4 car, a Resident Evil 4 car. There was obviously the Kotaku car.
I've seen a
pretty
Bleach
cool.
car. I mean, anime is a big subject, big topic of people making their cars.
Turns out all the closet anime fans are actually closet racing fans as well.
Could be. Or there could just be people who are just so into the painting and not really the racing.
No, that's true.
That's pretty much it for me. I haven't really had too much time to play anything as of late. But what have you been playing, Nick?
Like you, I've been jumping into Resistance a lot more just because when I got it with the system, I didn't, I played through it a little bit, but then I've really focused on it and ended up beating the game, going through it again on hard, just playing online with the gaffers to up my rank, and then the new maps will hopefully fucking come out next Thursday, because we've been waiting forever for these things. So, yeah, apparently those are supposed to be pretty high quality. But, again, we've been, been pulling on our chain for the past 2 or 3 weeks saying that these were going to come out and pretty much haven't. So that's kind of gay.
Well, it's not the maps that's delaying it; it's the worldwide server.
Well, I mean, in any event, we're just kind of waiting for new content for that, and it sounds like it's coming, and hopefully it'll be good, and I imagine it will be. But yeah, I've been playing that, and I just recently moved my Wii back into my room, so I'm going to be giving those games a lot more loving. So most recently I've been playing Super Paper Mario again, so that's good. I didn't get to play as much of that as I wanted last time, so now I finally get to give it some loving.
Soon you'll have Wii-itis.
Yeah, more about that later.
So one of the topics we've been kicking around is something that's sort of infected a lot of different video game forums, and that is fanboyism. To me, fanboyism is basically the attitude of some console owners and some different platform game players. Some of the attitude is that their console is the one and only game console that's worthy to play the game on, and to them, they won't even think or consider the positives of any other game consoles.
Yeah, especially if you look on YouTube, there is a crap load of videos based around like the Xbox 360 is good, the PlayStation 3 sucks, PlayStation 3 is good, the Wii sucks, and basically all they do is list like they start out listing the facts and specifications of each system, and then like the PlayStation 3 ones they'll be like so and so game was delayed because the cell processor is difficult to program for. And half the time, these kids, you just know that they do not understand the specifications of the console hardware. And half the time, they don't even get the facts right. They couldn't even list the proper creator for the Metal Gear series. I'm sorry, Kojima, but these people are idiots.
And they use bad grammar and punctuation.
But I mean, let's get down to it. I mean, why are they actually pissed? It's because, not everyone has $1,200 to buy all three consoles. So, I mean, if you buy a 360, and with the, how expensive consoles are nowadays, once you make your choice, I mean, for your average consumer, that's it. That's what your next-gen experience is going to be on. So, I mean, of course they're going to complain when, you're not going to shell out another $600 or $400 or $250 to get another system. You just want it to be on the system that you own.
But is that even a reason to complain? You have a next-gen console. You should be satisfied with it. You shouldn't say that the Wii sucks because you have an Xbox 360 and you want a Wii. There's no reason to say another console sucks, because none of them do. They're all special in their own way, and they all do their own things very well.
I don't want to say this is their rationale, but I can kind of see the point of trying to tear down one of the competing consoles in order to get more people over onto your console. Because obviously the more people you have playing your console, owning your console, the more game manufacturers, game producers are going to be making and producing games for your console. I mean, I think we're going to see that with the Wii, in that they've been so successful in selling their console that game makers are automatically going to be making games for their console, even if they hadn't previously planned to do so.
I mean, when I originally just had the Wii, I mean, I was, very much a Wii fanboy. I thought it was the greatest next-gen thing ever, and I still think it has its merits, but I mean, now that I also have a PS3, you can, my horizons have been broadened, and I can see the light, and, you understand that graphics hold just as much importance as gameplay. So, I mean, it's just, again, I think it's really just people being too poor to get the rest of them, and they just want everything to be on their system. And I mean, you can't blame them for wanting things to be on their system, but the way that they always attack these things is the very traditional fanboy, you suck, I'm late, lol lol lol. It's kind of annoying.
Ruffle, ruffle, ruffle.
I think it's knee-jerk ignorance. I mean, if you don't have the other console, you've never played the games on that other console, maybe it's a knee-jerk reaction. Speaking of ignorance, from ignorance, you just are automatically going to say the negatives about that console, not necessarily recognize all the positives of that thing.
Yeah, but it doesn't even matter this generation, because as we all expected, you're seeing less and less exclusives throughout this whole generation so far. So does it really matter what system you have? If anything, you should be buying a console for the first-party games over than all the third-party ones, because chances are you're going to see Metal Gear 4 or Metal Gear Solid 4 on 360 just at a later date than you would on the PlayStation 3.
Well, I mean, how funny was the reaction of the, wow, of the freaking PlayStation fan base when Devil May Cry was also announced to come onto the 360? I mean, they were flipping out, like, do not move this over to the Xbox thing. We're loyal to the Sony brand, and we don't want our game being moved over. It's like, if you own a PlayStation 3, why the hell do you care if the game is also on the 360? I mean, is it just so you can brag that I have this game and you don't? Ha ha ha! Like, who are they bragging to? The internet? Like, that's a great place to vent your frustrations. I mean, who the hell cares?
There really is no reason to care because, like I just said, you're going to see less and less exclusives. Be happy that you're getting, you're calling out cards, your Warhawk or your Viva Pinata or your Super Mario Galaxy games on the console that you chose. It's all about the first party. Third party is great. Everybody loves third party games, but the reason why I bought all three is so I can have the first party exclusives of all the different consoles.
I think the people who don't have the money to buy all three consoles take a rooting interest and have a vested interest in seeing all the games that they can possibly get come to their platform. It's kind of like people who are maybe an Ohio State fan or Michigan fan or a professional sports fan. They'll root like hell for their team and they'll rip apart, tear down any other team that plays their team because it's competition.
I don't know. I'm just the asshole who sits in the back saying, "Hi, you're all losers."
Well, I feel the same way, but I think that people who cheer for a sports team and people who, cheer or are fanboys of their own console have a lot in common in that it's not really a rational sense of, fairness. It's you only care about the one thing because you have a rooting interest in that and seeing it succeed.
I mean, it really just makes like communicating with people on message boards like impossible nowadays. I mean, any kind of positive news for one company is like, an automatic target from the other fanboys to go in there and try and spin it or make things negative. I mean, anytime sales figures come out, the Sony, group has to like bring up their defense shields because of course the sales are going to be weaker than all the others and they have to defend it. And all the Wii fanboys go crazy because theirs is selling like crazy, but then everyone says there's no games, and everyone's like, all you have is graphics, and then all the threads turn to shit. When it's like, there's other news to talk about. I mean, nowadays you only have to enter threads that are game specific, and pray to God that people aren't like bitching and that it's multi-platform or that they want it to be a multi-platform, whatever. And I just hope that further on in this console war that where certain games exist becomes less of an issue as the games themselves.
If anybody out there wants to come and post their thoughts on this topic, you can join our boards at playgasm.com/forums and tell us what you think. Moving on, one of the things we wanted to talk about with you guys is some of our favorite PC games. Each of us made a list of our top 5 PC games of all time. Nick, you want to share yours first?
Yep. So just to let everyone know, we're planning on doing like a top 5 segment. So this week will be top 5 PC, and then the next podcast will be top 5 console, and then the next podcast will be top 5 portable, I think it was.
Yep.
So yeah, keep looking for that because quite the library to pick from. So starting with PC, I'll go backwards. So my 5th game was Diablo 1. So, I mean, this was a game that I grew up with when I was younger. I think I was in middle school or something like that when this came out. And I just remember that the game captured me in such a way that I turned down a date from, like, the girl that I had a huge crush on to play this game. So, I mean, it grabbed me that much. I mean, yeah, I'm a total fucknut for doing that, but...
I just don't like vagina.
You
No, I
turned
don't.
down a date to play Diablo 1?
Yeah, I was playing Diablo 1 and having a great old time, and it's like, hacker-infested world where, everyone hacked in Diablo 1. It was just, like, part of the game. I mean, everyone had their godly play to the whale and their king sword of haste and all that shit, and I had the greatest time with that game, like, no joke. So, I mean, yeah, that was number 5 on my list, just for, the history of it, the quality of the cutscenes, of course, made by Blizzard. It's always top-notch. The story was great. I mean, it just had everlasting gameplay, and it was perfect to me.
Yep.
So that was number 5 on mine. Number 4, I said, was Half-Life 2. So, I mean, this was a game that there's every now and then a game will come out where you just need to upgrade your hardware for. And to me, it was Half-Life 2 when that game came out. It was just like, I needed to get a new PC because I want to run this game. Like, that's all I cared about. It was also the same time when, like, Doom 3 was coming out. But I wanted to get my hardware for that too. But Half-Life 2, I mean, first Half-Life, I never played it. Like I never played that game before Half-Life 2 came out.
Are
So
you serious?
yeah, I played like Team Fortress. I played like all the mods of it, but I never actually played the single player of Half-Life ever.
Well, did you play the original Team Fortress or just Team Fortress Classic?
I couldn't even answer that.
Team Fortress, the original Team Fortress was a Quake mod.
Nah, then it was probably classic then.
Alright.
So, yeah, I mean, the game was just amazing, though. I mean, the physics in the game, that's when, like, physics just really started taking a turn in, like, new-gen gaming, or next-gen, whatever. And then, so the physics was great, the graphics were great, the water effects were great, the story was amazing. And, like, the entire story being told from the first-person perspective, and, you know, with all the sound elements, and, like, the, you know, oppression-ridden government and things of that nature. I mean, it was just great. Like, playing through that game was amazing. I don't know if you guys thought it was the cream of the crop, but I thought it was pretty awesome.
I probably played like, I don't know, 2 hours of it and then just stopped. I never got back into it. For whatever reason, I just could not get into it. Then again, I didn't even pay for it. I got it free with a ATI video card.
I think I played less than 45 minutes. Just had too many other things going on at the time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was just, I was anticipating that game like crazy. So that ranked number 4 on my list. And then number 3, I have to hit StarCraft. So I mean, StarCraft 2 was just announced, and you know, in all honesty, I'm not too amped about that one as much. But StarCraft was just a game that probably ate like 6 or 7 years of my life, you know, almost consecutively. So I mean, the single player experience is pretty solid, but the multiplayer games is just where the game shined for me. I mean, I'd play this game with a bunch of my friends beating down computers, a bunch of my friends beating down each other. Just the use map games, the use settings games, where you could just create your own RPGs or your own different custom environments. That kept me over for a long, long time. So that game, just in general, was just awesome. So that was number 3. And again, it was a Blizzard game, so all the cutscenes looked awesome. So number 2, near and dear to my heart, is Counter-Strike, or Counter-Strike Source, whichever. But it all started with Counter-Strike. So I mean, this was the first-person shooter that got me into first-person shooters for the most part. It was just out of control online. I was joining leagues. You know, the game was just perfect. It had all the things I'd want in a first-person shooter. It had the community with the clans and the leagues. I couldn't ask for anything more in a first-person shooter experience. I mean, Counter-Strike Source kind of ruins a lot of things about the game, but the old school, when I was really into it, it just would completely destroy my life.
Are you one of the 1.6 Counter-Strike is the greatest type people?
No, I don't care. I mean, I played 1.6 when it was out, obviously, and I was playing that until Source came out. But once Source came out, I made the switch. I mean, I wasn't into the leagues anymore at that point, so making the switch to me was all that I really cared about. I mean, it came with Half-Life 2, so I was just amped about playing it with the updated graphics. So that was pretty good. So that was number 2. And then number 1, Blizzard fanboy, is Diablo 2. So, yeah, just awesome.
Nope.
It basically took everything about Diablo 1, improved upon it, you know, increased the number of, and I guess I should qualify this as Diablo 2 with the Lord of Darkness expansion. I think it was called Lord of Darkness. The expansion pack for it, where it added the extra classes, and it gave you freaking new items and everything. It was just, I could play this game forever, and I still would be playing if my freaking account wasn't banned, because I freaking map hack, but
Idiot.
whatever. But, I mean, the entire Diablo series to me is just a huge treasure hunt. Like, the game itself, you can beat it in probably less than a day, no problem. But then it's just, you keep coming back because it's all about getting that crazy rare stuff. So, I mean, anytime you see something gold on the floor, you, like, flip out. Anytime you see something yellow on the floor, you flip out. And for those who don't know, the colors, like, indicate the rarity of a certain item and whatnot. So, to me, that was just perfect. I could play that game forever. I could still play that game forever. And I will upgrade my system when Diablo 3 comes out.
I tried Diablo 2 with you guys, and I just could not get into it. It's not for me. I remember you guys dragging me onto Battle.net to play, and I basically sat there while you guys went off and did things.
I guess, maybe you'd have to go through Diablo 1 and, like, you know, have that be a huge experience for you. I don't know.
Oh, I beat Diablo 1. You know, I beat it online with my friends. I did all the duping like everybody else. It was a great time. But Diablo 2, for whatever reason, I could just not get into it.
I always thought they were both a little bit too hack and slashy for me.
They definitely are hack and slashy. Like you'd have to stay away from certain classes if you didn't want to like play that certain lifestyle. Like case in point, Diablo 2, the freaking paladin class, that is the definition of hack and slash. Like all your specials involve being next to a guy and just like hacking him. So I mean, he has a couple that aren't that way, but for the most part, he was just run up to a guy, hit, 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 dead.
So the big question is, do you still play any of these games?
Counter-Strike is a game that I can always jump into, and like probably every year I go through a phase where I just want to play Counter-Strike. So that game I always come back to. Diablo 1, Half-Life 2, StarCraft, no. I haven't played those in forever. But they still like hold a place near and dear to my heart. And if I had to go back and start playing games again, I would easily pick those up. But yeah, Diablo 2 I would still be playing if my account wasn't banned. I mean, I guess the question is, would I spend another, whatever, $20 to go play again? And I guess the answer is no right now, just because there's so much other stuff going on. But uh, no, I don't play any of these games currently, I guess is the answer to your question, which kind of hurts.
You suck.
You make me cry. I didn't want to answer no to that question.
All right, Josh, let's hear your list.
Alright, starting from number 5, just like Nick did, because I guess I have to fit in and be cool.
You build the momentum.
Yeah. Would be Ultima Online for my number 5 choice. It was a game that basically started me in MMORPGs. I met a lot of people that I know today and still talk to. It was just, at the time, all the adventuring you had to do, all the crafting, the quests, the treasure hunting, it was just, there was so much to it that you just never wanted to leave it. And on top of that, I would say, to this day, it still has the best PvP system. At least back then, you know, World of Warcraft and all those would not compare to the PvP system it had back in the day.
Since I'm like an Ultima Online noob, I've played tons of MMOs. Like, what was the PvP like? I think I remember you saying that it was like when you die, you drop everything.
Yeah, if you died, you would be basically screwed because anything that you had on you, any armor, any weapons or anything, the person who killed you or anybody around could pick up whatever you had. So if you had the key to your house, because in that game you had houses, a player could kill you and take the key if he so wanted to.
Good times.
Yeah, you know, I did a lot more with that game for years. I used to run my own custom-made server.
It was awesome.
So, yeah, that's where I met Keith.
Yep.
But I'll go with my number 4. Shut up, faggot. My number 4 choice would be Unreal Tournament. Now, this game, I used to play first-person shooters a lot. I played, you know, Quake, Quake 2. I never got into Quake 3, but Unreal Tournament was the one that I really got into online. I used to play it 24/7. I'm a deadly bastard with a sniper rifle. You do not want to screw with me on that. But that game, there's just so much to it, and I love Epic for making it. I wish they would go back and make a classic Unreal Tournament style game rather than this futuristic Halo ripoff Unreal Tournament 2007 crap.
Freaking Gears of War online, like deathmatch mode.
Yeah, screw that. Going on to my number 3 game would be, just like Nick, would be StarCraft. This game is near and dear in my heart. I love RTS games. Like Nick said, the movies in it were amazing. The graphics at the time were really good, and Brood War expansion was really good. Online play was great. I didn't really like playing against people. I always liked playing, you know, having like 4 CPUs versus like 3 people or whatever like that. That was probably my favorite time of the game.
I actually played a lot like that, but kind of counter to what you said, I actually hated the expansion. I like would not play the expansion in that game.
Really, why?
I just didn't like. Well, there was a couple units that I really hated, like the Protoss Corsairs. Those pissed me off because they could disable your ground defense, and that was really gay. And then I hated Lurkers for the Zerg. I hated I think they were called Destroyers for the Zerg, like the air-only units.
Yeah.
So, like, I just didn't like those new unit additions whatsoever. But what was great about the expansion was that the use map setting games, like all the custom stuff, got so much better because of all the new variety. So I actually had the expansion. I just hated playing any kind of regular game in the expansion mode.
Well, either way, it's pretty much probably, I would say, one of the best RTS games in history, and it's number 3 on my list. Going up to number 2 would be Descent 2. This game I got when I was in high school, and I used to skip school to play it with my friends over the modem. It's a long time ago, but it's definitely a fun game if you want to get sick, because everything around you is 3D. You're in this little ship, and you can like have full 360 motion. But at the time, it was really fun. You get to kill all your friends over the modem. Sitting there going, "Who is going to call who?" Then hang up and wait 20 minutes for the kid to call you. But that game, I wish they would go back and make another one. They stopped at, I think, Descent 4, and then the company who made it split into two, and now both of them are dead. So chances are we're not going to see another Descent game.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, brother. I miss you. I'm crying right now. Going on to my number one list, or
Drum
my number
roll.
one game, would be Quake 1. Yes, Quake 1. The game that, at least to me and a lot of other people, basically created online play for first-person shooters.
Amen.
Yeah, it had all the original mods. Mod community was huge for Quake 1. You had Team Fortress, which I guess Nick didn't know that was actually a Quake mod first.
Cricket.
I played that before I went to school every morning. Get up at 5 in the morning, play it for a couple hours, and then go to school. It had this cool paintball mod, but Quake 1 just by itself online was really sick as well. It's definitely my favorite game of all time.
To be fair, I am younger than the both of you, so that was kind of, well, I can't say before my era, but I definitely was younger when I actually have no excuse. I never knew that game existed until Quake 3.
Yeah, you're pathetic.
Yeah.
So that is definitely my top PC game. But Keith, what is your list?
My list is a little bit different than these guys' list. First of all, I'm older than both of them. Second of all, I've always been more of a casual gamer, less of a hardcore gamer. So a lot of the games that I enjoy playing are games that you can just pick up and play a quick game, quick match. Not,
Soccer Mom.
yeah, I guess you could call it soccer mom. I don't take offense to that. Anyway, I'll start with number 5. Number 5 is Command and Conquer 2. I also liked Command and Conquer Red Alert. Both of those games were just amazing real-time strategy games. Really opened my eyes to the possibilities of what you could do on a PC as far as different types of gameplay. With Red Alert, I had never seen a game that was so much strategic as opposed to maybe live action or, first person shooter. It was my first introduction to real-time strategy games, and I really loved it a lot. Not just for the offline single player missions, but also for the ability to go online and play against people and of course a lot of times I didn't get to finish the game because my modem would drop the connection. But yeah, Command and Conquer 2, I really loved that game a lot.
So, I mean, that was a real-time strategy game. Did you play StarCraft? Like, would you compare it to StarCraft? Or...
No, I was never exposed, never had the opportunity to play StarCraft. I had never even heard of StarCraft until StarCraft 2 came out. I guess I just missed the boat on it, never, jumped into it, never saw it anywhere.
I guess we all were just not as savvy back in the day. I mean, nowadays we could probably know about everything under the sun, but back then, I only found out from stuff that was in, magazines. I didn't even use the internet for that kind of knowledge back then.
Well, like I said, I was always more of a casual gamer. I wasn't really, going out there looking for information on games either.
It's kind of funny that you say that after I look at your list. I mean, they'll find out. You really only have, one casual game on there.
Really? Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, I'd have to
We'll see.
agree. You pretty much have one casual game.
Number 4 is Sims 2, but I guess you could lump Sims 1 in there as well. Sims 1 really kind of, I know a lot of people call it the virtual dollhouse of games, whatever. I mean, yeah, you could call it that, but I think it's kind of prejudicial to call it that. To some extent, it's kind of a social interaction simulator. It's not just social interaction, but you kind of tend, if you've played too much Sims and Sims 2, you start seeing people in a whole new light. You see their actions and reactions to things based more on their physical motivations and maybe their social motivations, and you tend to see. Maybe I'm looking too deeply into the game, but you tend to see social interaction on a more simplistic level, and you tend to see people as being more simple and less complex. I don't know if you guys have played Sims or Sims 2, but most of the Sims, or all the Sims, are based. Their motivations are based on their needs. There's 5 needs, and then they also have their interests, and all their interactions are basically woven around these interests and needs.
All right, so my question to you:
Yeah.
Were you the type who played The Sims to have a god complex and lock one into a room and let him piss all over himself, or were you the person who actually wanted to play the game and help the sim move on in life?
Both. I mean, I don't think there's anyone with who's, slightly sadomasochistic like me who hasn't locked someone in a room, with no doors, no windows, and either fed them and watched them piss themselves and eventually kill or die of loneliness and starvation eventually,
I
or
died of loneliness.
or put them in a pool and then took the ladder out. There's no one who played that game who didn't want to see what you could do. What are the limits to what your Sims can take?
So in your daily activities, do you see people walking around with little green diamonds over their head?
I wish I could see those diamonds, but I mean, when you're playing the game, obviously you don't see the other Sims, the non-controlled Sims wants or needs or their diamond, emotional, whatever you want to call it. You can't see their status symbol above their head. You can only see your own players or characters.
All
So
right,
no.
another question for you. Were you the type who wanted to use the nudie patches?
No, I never did the nudie patches. I mean, I know they're out there, but it's like, what's the point? I mean, I did have some hacked objects, so I could have one of my Sims do certain things. Like he never had to sleep, so he could study all the time, stay up all night working out. I mean, yeah, I had some hacked objects, but I never really did the nudie thing. I thought that was, I don't know. And there's plenty of porn online. If you need to watch pixelated porn in a Sims game, then it's kind of sad.
Oh,
Or
great. So
amazing.
now I'm sad. I fucking hate.
To each their own. Number three, I have Quake. I guess you could put Doom and Doom 2 on there too. I played a ton of Doom when I was in school. My friends and I would all play Doom on the LAN, and then when we got Quake, oh my God, we just went ape shit with Quake. Quake, just an awesome game for online first-person shooters. I'm not a huge fan of first-person shooters on consoles, but on a keyboard and mouse, I love first-person shooters. I just haven't played them in a long time. The last first-person shooter I think I played was America's Army.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty old.
Yeah. Number two for me also is Ultima Online. Josh already also had this on his list. Ultima Online is just one of those games. That it's old school. I mean, it's graphically not that good looking. It's 2D, made to look like 3D, but once you start playing it, it's very obviously 2D. What I mean by that is you have a Z height, you have a Z axis, but you can't really control where your character is in the height of the game. It comes into play when you're being an admin or a GM or one of those controlling figures who runs a shard. But when you're in the game and you're new and you don't really understand what's going on in the game, you find out pretty quickly how fucked you can be if you don't understand a Z-axis. Like if you get stuck in certain tiles of the game and you need help, or there's a lot of little quirks in that game that made it a lot of fun. I never got into the PvP though.
Because you're a pussy.
It could be.
So, Ultima Online was, I take it, your guys' first like MMO.
For me, yeah.
It was for me. I don't know if I should even say this because I think I was technically violating my end user license agreement. But I never played Ultima Online on the official servers. My first experience was actually playing it on shards based on, Sphere, and I can't remember what the other unofficial illegal server was, or open source, whichever it was. But anyway, I kind of got hooked on Ultima Online by playing it on illegal servers.
OMG. No, I think Josh did the same thing anyway. Just like throw him under the bus since you already like made fun. But I mean, was it just because the smaller community, you guys would like
I
learn
think
the
so.
people?
I,
It was
I,
just
Well,
personal.
to clarify, I didn't play on a illegal server. I ran an illegal server. So if you're gonna throw me under the bus, do it correctly.
it's a bigger
Yeah.
bus.
So like, Josh, if you want to arrest Josh, you can find him at blah 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 blah. Blah.
That's true. That's where I met Josh. Josh was an admin on one of the servers out there on the internets, and I guess I kind of just bumped into him. Just, I was always online, and he probably always saw me online, and I was just doing mundane, stupid little shit, and he probably wondered, what is this guy doing? He's not doing any of the fun stuff that he could be doing.
It's pretty
That's when I
fun.
came up with my cow throwing
Cow
crossbow
throwing.
and
Yeah.
exploded cows on his face.
How funny is that, though? You met Josh through an MMO, and I met Josh through a different MMO quite down the road. And wow,
It's a small world.
yeah, it is. All right, I
Worlds.
think we've talked enough about Ultima Online. What is next?
Number one, Neverwinter Nights.
Oh my
Another
god!
another role-playing game. I played this a lot offline and loved it. Neverwinter Nights had two expansion packs, Shadows of Undrentide and I can't remember what the other one was. But they were both really good expansion packs. If you like Dungeons and Dragons type game, you would love Neverwinter Nights and Neverwinter Nights 2. Neverwinter Nights was also a huge community game. I mean, it kind of became sort of a baby MMO. I don't really want to call it a true MMO because you could never have, 100 and plus people on any server at a given time just because it wouldn't support it. But there were a lot of worlds that sprung up around Neverwinter Nights that were a lot of fun to play on.
I mean, I'd consider Neverwinter Nights more closely to Diablo in the sense that you can create your own instances of the world, and like the world would just kind of exist, and people could join it. I mean, when I think MMO, I think just thousands of people in the same environment. But to me, Neverwinter Nights was always smaller groups of people doing more personal things, not so much like massive world type stuff.
Oh, well, people made persistent worlds from it, and they had databases that would keep track of everything you owned. You could buy housing. I mean, anything you can do in an MMO. I mean, other than have the massive numbers of people on at one given time, you could do with Neverwinter Nights.
Damn. Yeah, I never did that.
Yeah, there were some great servers out there too. I think they still exist. A lot of them, I think, we're even talking about upgrading to Neverwinter Nights 2 once that really started gaining in popularity, which I don't know if it really did.
Yeah, are you still playing Neverwinter Nights 2, or did you ever get into that?
I have it. I haven't really had a chance to play a lot of it. I started playing through the offline single player missions. It was fun. I mean, it's more of the same. I think it's graphically shinier, more bells and whistles, a few more classes, more prestige classes, a lot more spells.
I don't know. The only thing I remember about Neverwinter Nights 2, not to change you from Neverwinter Nights 1, but was the whole one-up review issue where they put it up and it was really negative and everybody hated it, and then they took it down, and then everybody hated one-up for a while, and everybody hated Neverwinter Nights 2, and that's the only thing I remember about that game.
Yeah, I remember that whole debacle. I never actually played the game. I played the first one, and I think I even ended up getting one of the first expansions for it. But yeah, Neverwinter 2, I'll just always remember that one-up shit. So I
Me,
mean,
me personally, I never got into it. Neverwinter Nights 1. Keith made me try it a couple times.
I
I don't know
did.
what it is with you guys trying to make me play video games.
We're
Trust me,
pushers.
I can do it on my own, fuckers. But I tried it. I played it probably for about 4 hours with them, but I could just never get into it.
I think he got tired of killing rats in the sewer for 4 hours.
Yeah.
I definitely think all all type of RPG games really need to up the ante when it comes to low-level monsters. I mean, you start Oblivion, you're punching rats. You start EverQuest, you're like cutting up bees. I think it's just really, really funny.
It is, and I think that'll probably be addressed at some point with, other games in the future. But that's not really what we're talking about. So that's all on my list. That's all of our lists. If you, the listener, wants to put in your 2 cents, you can go ahead and post on our forums at playgasm.com/forums. I'm sorry, /forum.
Yep, I was gonna say it, but I left it alone.
That's right. All right.
So, well, I was just gonna make one comment. I mean, I think it's funny looking at all of our lists. They all paint different pictures. I mean, apparently I'm a huge Blizzard fanboy. Apparently Josh likes lots of weird shit, and you
First
also
person shooters.
yeah, first person shooters, and then there's like Ultima Online and StarCraft, which is just weird. I mean, you said you're a casual. I mean, I'd say your game list is very non-casual in all actuality, aside from The Sims. But The Sims is so casual that I'd say it balances you out to a casual gamer. I just don't like The Sims.
True enough. We're going to play our video game music challenge. You're going to hear a short clip of music, and if you think you know what it is, go ahead and post your answer on our message board at playgasm.com/forum. Listen carefully. Here's the clip. That was this week's video game music challenge. Again, if you know the answer, go ahead and post on our forums at playgasm.com/forum. Last week's video game music challenge was what song from what game?
Frog's theme from Chrono Trigger, and Nick's friend and my friend Chris got it.
I
Awesome. What
never
do they
played
win?
Chrono Trigger. I'm such a faggot.
Mhm.
I never played it either, but I'm straight. On to the news.
It's a game that caters to all sexual preferences.
Apparently, there's no Squeenix love for the 360. What's up with that?
Well, all right. Square Enix, Japanese company, 360 sold like what 5 units in Japan.
Hated in Japan.
So like, it doesn't make sense for them to support it anyways. Yeah, they're missing out on a lot of Western love, but at the same time, it's just like they're Japanese. The Japanese people don't like the green system, so yeah, I guess they suck so much they're not going to support them.
But that's not to say that they're not going to ever get a Final Fantasy game again. I mean, a lot of people had that wrong when they said that the 360 was never going to see another Final Fantasy game. What they actually meant was that, and it was kind of like a few steps back because they probably realized they fucked up, but that there is currently no Final Fantasy games in development for the 360, not saying that there aren't going to be any in the future.
Okay, raise your hand if you think there will be a Final Fantasy game on the 360. I don't see any hands raised.
Look, guys, my hand is in the air. Square Enix loves me.
I don't think they do. Not at all.
I don't see them supporting the 360. I don't see any company that's like, no, that's a bad statement. But I don't see Square Enix picking up. I mean, the love of Final Fantasy is so ingrained in Sony culture ever since 7 that like moving it anywhere besides Nintendo or Sony would just be like blasphemous.
See, I have to argue with you. I think that eventually they will show the 360 some love with Final Fantasy. I mean, you already have Final Fantasy 11 on there now, and obviously it's just so they can get more money out of the game. But I think eventually you will. I'd say after Final Fantasy 13 and the ones for the Wii and DS that are coming out, and obviously the PSP as well, you probably will see a Final Fantasy game on the 360. At least one. Probably one.
Well, with nothing in the works right now, that probably puts it at a clean 0 games for the next like what 2 years or so. I mean,
2 or
development.
3 years.
Yeah, so especially for a Square Enix game, the development cycles being as long as they are,
Are we
I can't
talking?
imagine that anything's coming out anytime soon.
Are we just talking a new Final Fantasy game, or is there still a chance that they might port something over for Live Arcade?
That sounds really possible, actually. I mean, Square Enix is having a grand old time porting all the old Final Fantasies to DS and PSP and whatever the fuck they can get their hands on nowadays. So, yeah, that could happen.
Yeah, but remember, Square Enix also said that they will not be putting older classic Final Fantasy games on Virtual Console because they do not feel that downloadable games or downloadable content is there yet. So who really knows if you're going to see it on PlayStation Network or Xbox Live Arcade?
You know why, though? It's because they can release Final Fantasy III for the DS for like $35 and we'll pay for it. So why would they put it on Virtual Console for like
Exactly.
$5?
You have to remember that Square Enix is kind of like the Japanese version of EA. All they really want nowadays is money.
Final Fantasy 13A, Final Fantasy 13B, Final Fantasy 13C.
All right, moving on.
Final Fantasy 13D!
Apparently EA
In Z.
Apparently EA sees the writing on the wall, and they've formed a casual game studio in order to capitalize on what appears to be the newfound love for casual gaming. I put that in air quotes. You can't see them, but they're
Oh
there.
my god, we lol.
Yeah. So this is based primarily on the huge, massive, insanely high sales for the Nintendo Wii. Is this a good thing? Bad thing?
Oh
Do
my
we
god,
care?
we lol. Like, wow. I mean, it's one thing to make games for the Wii, but I mean, why do all games have to be casual games? I bet you Nintendo alone will be good enough to cater to the first party. Well, they will make all the casual games that you want. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they love their Nintendogs because they'll talk about it every chance they get. So they're gonna really hit on that casual market, and devoting an entire like group to just casual games, I don't know.
Well,
I
EA
don't-
makes Sims.
If they want the money, and yeah, there's definitely money to be made there, so it makes perfect sense. But I don't know if I want that many game development studios heading towards the casual market. I would like it if they were few and far between and quality versus just lots and lots and lots of quantity with no quality.
I mean, how many mini games can you really tolerate? There's already a bunch out on the Wii, and obviously, to me, casual game studio means that we're going to be getting more mini game based games. When really Nintendo's touch generation is good enough for me, and WarioWare, I can live with just that over anything that EA is going to put out.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that schoolyard game. Did you see that for the Wii that
Yeah.
they were coming out with? I mean, that just looked awful. And if that's the type of shit they're going to be putting out, forget it. I'm not going to buy anything from them. I mean, EA for the Wii has been pretty solid, I'd say, with SSX Blur and Madden being like really good ports. Well, not really ports, but anyways, those games are pretty solid actually. But casual game studio, I don't want my Wii to be just a casual system. I mean, my Galaxies, my Metroid Primes, those are the types of games that I want to play on the Wii. Just because you have like an interface that's more accessible doesn't mean everything should take the casual route.
Not to put you guys on the spot, but just a few weeks ago, you guys were huge fans of Calling All Cars, which I would venture to say is a casual game. Why don't
See,
you
I
want to
wouldn't call
see?
Calling All Cars a casual game because
Sure
that
it
game
is.
gets you so fired up. It's not a casual game.
But it's a
I'd
pick
say
up and play game. That's the epitome of a casual game in my book.
I'd say it's casual. I'd put it under casual.
I really wouldn't because you can get so fired up playing that game and so stuck into it where I don't know. I see it as more of a hardcore game because before I know it, I'm playing it for 5 hours straight online.
But you're the
Yeah,
one who
but
said there was no skill involved. It's completely luck.
Your face is completely luck.
so I mean, like Tetris is like the same equivalent type game. It's like a game that's I would consider casual, but you take it online and it becomes like not really hardcore, but it definitely gets like intense. So I mean, just because a casual game is intense doesn't necessarily mean it's not a casual game anymore. I just think that certain casual games can get that fierce competitive, attitude out of you without necessarily losing their casual rank,
So
if you
what
will.
defines a casual game then? Is it one that you can just pick up and play, or is it one that you spend a lot of the time with?
I would say it's one you pick up and play that you aren't constantly trying to build up a character. You aren't constantly building up stats that are being saved to a database somewhere. It's something that, even though there's may or may not be a lot of skill involved, it's something that you can pick up, play the game, and finish the game in maybe less than an hour and go move on to something else without having to, worry about where the next save point is. Maybe there aren't even any save points. Something like that.
All right, so I want you to do this sometime this week, Keith. Load up Calling All Cars and try to beat every rank within an hour.
Well, you're setting goals for yourself, but you can easily play a level, not really a level, but you can play what do you want to call it?
Map.
A map in a very short period of time.
No, but remember, there's different skill levels in that game, and there's different ranks you have to go through. And if you say that you can beat them within an hour, I'm going to call you a fucking liar.
But can you save in between?
I don't think so.
No.
But I mean, to me, what makes a casual game? I mean, not to like cut you short, but I think Keith was kind of making a point with setting some loose criteria, and you're taking it kind of literally. But I mean, to me, a casual game is anything where the core gameplay mechanic it's simplistic in nature. So I mean, like Tetris to me is a casual game because there's two buttons that make sense. There's a rotate block button and a make block move left or right button, and then people with skill will hit the down button to make the block move faster.
Oh, you
or the
know
up
what?
button.
Calling
So
all
it's-
cars is totally different because it's got the ninja jump button.
Exactly, Ninja Jump.
Any game that has ninjas can't be considered casual because ninjas are so fucking hardcore that they just fall off the casual market right away.
Well, that's like, I can't believe there's so many ninjas in Ninja Gaiden. That's just insane.
That's craziness.
Yeah, that's a lot of ninjas. So I mean, to me, that's what makes the casual game casual. It's not so much how long you play it or what exactly the game comprises of. I mean, just because a game has ponies in it doesn't make it necessarily casual. I mean, you can have a really fucking hardcore pony game, I guess. I'm not even gonna venture
Hardcore
into
pony
how.
game? I don't think you should have gone there.
I think you can make one. if you
Oh
really
man,
want.
I would love a game like that where you get to go all hardcore on a pony.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like we're starting a porn website or something, but I'm just saying that you can't make a game casual just because it has ponies in it, for instance. A game's casual just because the gameplay mechanics are casual, meaning simplistic and accessible. So, I mean, people see the Wii and they think, well, now we don't have to teach people button layouts. They can just swing a racket or swing a golf club. I mean, Wii Sports was great and all, but I don't want 1,000 Wii Sports games on my Wii now.
I guess at first I was sort of playing devil's advocate because I'm not a big fan of EA. However, if we revisit what we said about calling all cars, and we want to see more games like this, especially on the downloadable content and the various consoles. Maybe EA is doing the smart thing, going down the path of casual gaming. Maybe they shouldn't have labeled it casual gaming. Maybe they would have been more successful, or maybe left a better taste in our mouth if they would have just said, "Oh, we're going to do more short games, more simplistic games, more virtual console games, more live arcade games, something like that."
Well, I mean, they officially labeled the thing EA Casual Games, so I imagine this is going to be like their Touch Generations type games where you'll see this EA Casual Games label on something and you'll basically just say, get the fuck away from it.
Right. I'm just wondering if we're maybe being too critical about it based on the tag and based on the company, instead of actually critically analyzing. All right, EA does have some good IPs. I mean, they've got Sims, which is Maxis basically. They've got Sim City, which I heard their hardcore fans are up in arms about what is coming out of not Maxis, but some other companies putting together a new Sim City named game. I mean, there's some good IPs in EA.
They got Army of Two coming out. That looks pretty good. And I mean, like I said, the SSX game that they put on the Wii was really good. It's not like they don't make good games sometimes, but I think EA just pisses everyone off because we all know that they're like money hat. Like, how can we get money? And we shall do it. So I mean,
We'll make a
it's
game
true.
called Rock Band.
yeah.
But they do make some good games. I mean, Need for Speed is a very good IP, in my opinion. And I can very easily see, and there's very little likelihood of happening, but I can very easily see that game becoming miniized. And a lot of other IPs might lend themselves to being made into, more compact, small, casual version of the same game or a similar game.
I think you just trademarked the word miniized. I think that's a new word that's going to catch on now.
It's possible.
Like Mortal Kombat Armageddon for the Wii, miniized. Now you got Mario Kart Kart Racing.
Exactly. Well, maybe not exactly, but yes, you get the point. Speaking of casual games, apparently a lot of people are coming down with not tennis elbow, but Wii-itis.
Wii-itis. With no hyphen, mind you, so it's just W, three I's, then a T and an I and an S. I mean,
I think it needs a couple more eyes in there, but yeah.
I think it needs a fucking hyphen in there.
Now, if you're anything like me, the first thing that popped in your mind when you hear Wii-itis is somebody who's been sitting in their basement for far too long with a couple dirty magazines and maybe a couple movies, and something happened to their wrist. But apparently, that's not what it is.
First off, when I saw this word the first time, I thought it was Wheatus. And like I was reading the article, I'm like, what the hell is Wheatus? And why is that a good name for it?
Isn't that a band?
Yeah, all I could think of was like Teenage Dirtbag. Like it brought me back to like high school or something. But then I realized it was Wii-itis. So apparently there's this dude from the New England Journal of Medicine who claims that if you take some ibuprofen and you stop playing Wii video games, then you will be fully recovered from your Wii-itis. So, why did this have to get a label on it? Like, does anyone play the Wii get like their arms sore and then they think, oh fuck, what is wrong with me? I need to go to a doctor because I have no clue why my arms are randomly hurting.
Well, I
So,
remember when I first got the Wii and I played Wii Sports for probably like 6 hours straight. My shoulders and elbows were sore, but like the next day it went away. So obviously you should take Nintendo's little warnings that would take a break to heart and every once in a while to stop playing.
Who does
but I
that
mean,
though?
would you run to a doctor and be like, what is wrong with me? I don't know. And then he goes, well, I'm sorry, but you have Wii-itis. It's like, oh, doctor, is it bad? No. You need to take aspirin and stop fucking playing your Wii. Fat.
No, at that point I would just put in trauma center and try to figure out what's wrong with me.
There are probably some soccer moms out there whose children are complaining about inflamed pain in the elbows or other, appendages, and the soccer mom isn't smart enough to put two and two together and realize little Jimmy's playing his Wii for 16 hours every day of the weekend.
Oh, he's playing his Wii all right.
Yeah, he is.
Jimmy,
Little
if
Jimmy's
your
hardcore.
Jimmy, if your Wii hurts, it's probably not an STD. Just
It means you need to play
Stop with the
Wii
waggle.
less. You'll get some goosebumps on it at first, and then it'll start bleeding out. It's a long story short. Just stop playing with your Wii.
Yes.
It burns when I waggle.
In all honesty, though, this just kind of points to like how much of a pop culture thing the Wii is becoming. I mean, we have medical illnesses named after the Wii. I mean, if someone dies of like heat exhaustion, they don't go, "Oh, he just got 360 overheated exhaustion," whatever the fuck. I mean,
Red ring. I just red ringed.
yeah, I have no clue what the hell. I mean, there's really nothing you could get from the other ones. Although you probably could get hurt from the PS3 6-axis. The way that games make you use that thing, that hurts my wrist pretty effing bad. Way more than the Wii ever does. I guess that's another story, but still.
It's just funny. Like first you had the whole incident with the Wii where people were throwing the Wiimotes to the TV, and now you have Wii-itis.
So is this a scam by Nintendo to keep Wii in the news?
Nah, they don't
No.
need it. They don't need any extra PR right now. They could not release a game for 3 years and the Wii would still be sold out just
I
because
think
of Wii
that's their
Sports.
plan. Isn't that their plan? I mean, it seems like they aren't releasing a lot of games, but
It's
they're
totally
selling
their
like
plan.
crazy.
I mean, why would they really? I mean, as much as it sucks for us, it's like, why would they need to like, pique your enthusiasm for the system when it's already at like capacity? I
And
mean,
they're
You
in
don't
the
really
black
hear
with
much from
each console.
Nintendo. You don't really see too many like Wii commercials. Every once in a while you will, but you don't really like see too much around the Wii.
well,
But yet it's selling like
you know what
crazy.
you do see though? I mean, hell, I mean, what retail store right now doesn't have something about the Wii going on? I mean, there's that, was it Coke Points commercial where there's like a cap falling down a stairwell, and what's falling down a stairwell? A Wii. Like, you can win a Wii if you go to our website, or you can get strawberry Wii flavored frickin' whatever the hell slushies from 7-Eleven. There's Wii product placement everywhere. It's just they don't even need to advertise it themselves. They've just become so ingrained in pop culture that the world will sell it for them, and they just need to sell Wii Sports.
Stuff like that just makes me want to sell my Wii even more.
I mean, I love the Wii. I just need something new on the goddamn thing. Just give me Metroid Prime 3. Give it to me now, and I will stop bitching.
One company that needs to sell more consoles, well, not as much as Sony, but Microsoft would possibly consider a price cut for the 360 around Christmas, maybe November.
I mean, this news article should have been about the PS3, right? I mean,
Maybe.
we all want the PS3 price to come down. I mean, we all own one, but at the same time, it's like, what console needs a price cut more than any of them? And that's the PS3. So, the 360 price cut would pretty much put them at a point where it's not even in contention with the PS3 anymore. It's just, I guess it's fighting the Wii at that point.
Yeah, the price point I heard was $200, and Microsoft's saying that's the right price point for a next gen console. And if that's the case, and they're serious about doing something like that, look out, Sony. I mean, this could be the death knell for Sony. Maybe it's
It'll
premature for me to say that, but still.
I'd say no, you're probably hitting in the right area. I mean, if that console comes down in price, the graphics aren't too far apart yet. I mean, you look at current gen games, and there's really not too much difference between them in terms of, graphicalness or, I mean, the game library is even stronger on the 360. So I mean, if the price on that thing comes down, not owning a 360 for myself is even going to be hard to do. I mean, I'm going to be tempted to get into that thing. I don't know. Sony, please drop the price. I would like people to buy your console so games will come out on you.
I don't think
I want
Sony's
EA
listening.
to open up a hardcore games division so to counteract the Wii one. Please, please, please.
You know what's going to sell more PS3s? A PSP phone.
Cricket, cricket.
No, thank you.
What? You don't want a PSP phone?
No, I don't want a piss phone.
Pisp. Nice. You see what he did there, folks?
That was
Pisp.
clever.
I really don't see the point of this phone thing. I mean, I've seen patents. All right, so people know what we're talking about. There was like a patent that they filed with BT Mobile. I have no clue what that is. Apparently, they're from the UK, a carrier in the
huge.
UK. Okay, so they're huge. So they filed a patent for some kind of PSP phone. So the sales of the PSP compared to the DS isn't so great, but I'd still say it's not a loss, but not so great in comparison. So they want to get this phone jobby out there. So I mean, they have a PSP2 coming out not too soon, like not too far, I should say. Coming out
Well,
pretty soon.
that's just a slimline, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be like the PSP Lite, if you will. But I mean, they talked about something else coming out too, like the PSP2, and apparently something's going to be at E3.
I think there are rumors, speculation.
Well,
And
the
it,
whole PSP phone is just supposed to go to war with the iPhone, isn't it?
yeah, they
Uh,
mentioned it in the article. It's a direct threat to the Sony Ericsson Walkman. So,
that's pretty optimistic.
uh, I don't know if we should get into a whole bit about the iPhone. I could talk about that
No,
for a while,
I'd
but
rather not because I don't know. I'm anti-hype.
anti-hype.
Yep, I'm the anti-hype.
What a downer, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know.
If you're gonna hype something, I will anti-hype it. It's just how I roll.
So if I was gonna hype potatoes, how would you anti-hype potatoes?
I would say potatoes are just starch. They're not even a vegetable.
Owned.
Next.
So if I was gonna hype tampons, how would you anti-hype tampons?
No, I would say they're necessary, but only half the population is actually using them. And it's actually less than half, since once you reach menopause, Josh, you won't be using them anymore.
Owned.
Oh, that's nice to know at least. Then I can save some money and buy some more $60 fucking games.
Well, no, the beauty is when you go into menopause and you're that old, you can put on the Depends, right? And it acts as like both a tampon and a shit stopper. So I mean, even though you're not bleeding out of there anymore, I guess if you have like bloody shit or something, it'll get caught in the Depends.
I wouldn't know.
Pancakes were officially canceled. Let's go back on with the podcast.
I think we should talk about bloody shit filled Depends. I don't. I mean,
If anyone's still listening, I apologize on behalf of my co-hosts, Josh and Nick. We didn't mean to delve into excrement.
so oh my god, GameFly price is up by $1.
Is anybody
That's
using
not that big of
GameFly?
a deal. I use GameFly
Yeah, I have
actually.
GameFly as well.
What do you
It's
guys
not
get
that
from
big of a deal.
GameFly?
I don't use it at all. I've had a copy of Final Fantasy II for the DS that I've had in my room for probably over a month that I just need to return to them to get something. But there's like no games on the horizon that I haven't either bought or played a demo of myself. So I mean, currently I'd probably say I'm not using my GameFly account to its limits.
I myself have a copy of Mario Sunshine for the GameCube that is still in the GameFly packaging because I have not had enough time to play it yet.
So is this a
And
problem with GameFly? I mean, should people really consider or reconsider their need for a GameFly account based on how much time they have?
I, I mean, I've rented games like for the DS, let's say, and I'll pop in the cartridge, and some cartridges can hold multiple save files, so you can kind of see how much everyone else has played. I remember I popped in Kirby, not Canvas Curse, but the other one. Forget what it was called. But I popped in Kirby, and both of the other save files only had like maximum 2 hours on it. So you figure people are playing the games and using it more of like a demoing system that you pay for versus, you know, I mean, the beauty of GameFly is that you can keep it as long as you want and then send it back. So ideally, you'd be using the system to play a game you really want, beat it, and then send it back. But it sounds like people are just kind of like renting a game, going meh, and then sending it back. I don't know. I probably should stop my GameFly account, but I like having it.
yeah, I should probably stop mine too. But with games being $60 or $30 for handheld ones, it's kind of nice to try a game. Or if you do actually want to play all the way, you can keep it as long as you want. I mean, one time I had a game for over a year.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I just totally forgot about it. I beat it and then forgot about it, and like I'd say 5 months after I found it, and I was like, oh wow, I guess I should send that back.
So you paid like over $100 for that game?
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
mean
I have a 2 game account, so I had another one at the time.
I don't mean to revisit the whole casual gaming thing, but doesn't the fact that you guys have these GameFly accounts and you're willing to rent these games and play them for a short period of time and either beat them or not beat them and then return them sort of go back into the transient nature or whatever you want to call it of video games, making them more like DVDs in a way that we're only playing them for a short time and either beating them or just casting them off to move on to the next thing.
I don't know. I got my GameFly account with the intention of using it to like try out games that were on the cusp for me. Like, for instance, when Sonic Secret of the Rings for the Wii came out, I was like, "This is a game I will rent," and then I ended up buying it. But I mean, case point was I meant to use it as a system to like try games out before I bought them, and then I ended up now I'm treating it like a well, let's rent all these games that I should have played in the past and I didn't play. So I mean, hopefully, I mean, basically what this plays to is that there needs to be some kind of new distribution strategy from game companies because, the solid format of having an actual disc is definitely going to go away sooner than later. I mean, digital
No.
distribution is going to happen. So, I mean, what the F is GameFly going to do then? What the F is EB Games going to do then? What are they going to do?
Well, EB Games already has a solution. They have a PC game system where you can download them from their store online.
Okay, so maybe they're fine. But, no, GameFly to me is. I like having it, but I'm really not using it right now. But I like having it. I don't know what to say. I think they own my soul.
Video
Yep.
games is a little bit different than music in that some of us still enjoy owning the disc or owning, the case that the game came in, more like a DVD, and less like music. I mean, music, yeah, you can buy the DVD or you can download the music either legally or illegally, and you have the MP3s, and the MP3s can be played on computer, the personal digital audio player, or whatever. Why
Well,
why do we want to go that way with games?
you look at it and you look at what iTunes is doing, right? So I mean, especially with the introduction of the iPhone, where it's got their cover flow, where you can view your albums and your album arts like as if they were, vinyls. So I mean, the digital age is still going to kind of give you that feeling of here I can show you my collection here by handing someone your iPhone, I guess.
But you
I
can't
guess
loan it
that's
to someone.
no, you'd need a Zune to do that.
No, a
Oh.
game. I'm saying you can't really loan your games out to someone if you don't have the case that the game goes in and the game itself on disc. You're stuck with that game on that console tied to that account. Why
Well, on
would we want
PlayStation
it?
3, you can share games.
Well, not officially. It's not
Not
like they tell
officially.
you how to do it. And the way of doing it's kind of you have to trust whoever you're doing it with because you have to give them your account.
But
But
Microsoft's never
Hmm.
going to go that direction
well, I mean, Microsoft, like I was saying before, had the Zune, where the Zune lets you share music files with your friends.
for a limited period of time.
Right. I mean, you
It's
get
all
like
very it's
plays
very
or something
limited,
like that.
but it also stops you from reselling your game. So if you actually have your game in a case, you can actually sell that to someone else and be done with it.
Well, that's another reason actually why the companies need to get to digital distribution from like if I had to put my marketing guy hat on, you definitely want your games to be digital because, like you said, it's tied to your console. You can't resell it. So, I mean, the entire resale market like kills game sales because if you want to buy a game that's old, why not just buy the used game? Obviously, you don't really care enough to like get it when it first came out. So, you go to the store, you get a used copy, and they don't make any money from that. Meanwhile, EB is like giggling and snortling and chortling all over the place because they just made extra money off of you. So I mean, what the hell were we even talking about? GameFly?
Sort of.
I totally lost it there.
Josh, have you ever bought a used game?
Yeah.
Do you still have them?
Yes.
Nick, have you ever bought a used game?
I'm gonna say yes, but I can't think of any.
I don't think I've ever bought a used game, and I still have most of the games that I've ever purchased. I mean, unless I've given them away or sold them, to a friend, someone else, for them to play. But the whole idea to me, and maybe I'm just very old school, but the whole idea of digital distribution of games as an exclusive model for a way to get to the games I want is just horrible for consumers, in my opinion.
No, it's definitely horrible for us. But I mean, it's also convenient though. I mean, the beauty of things is that you can sit in your chair and like get a new game. You don't have to run out to a store and get it.
For some
So,
people, I mean, what if you're talking about a 5 or 6 gigabyte download? That's going to take someone who only has DSL like me probably days to download, whereas I could just drive to the store in a matter of 20 minutes to half an hour and have my game in the console and be playing.
But you're
well,
wasting gas and killing the environment.
Maybe I want to do that.
Oh,
I think in the end, game companies, I mean, they're not going to put out any kind of digital distribution until A, bandwidth increases, like in the mainstream. I mean, the fact that they still have a upgrade to broadband commercials tells me that they still don't have enough people on broadband yet. So I
That's
think
just that's the
that's kind
United
of
States. The United States
freaking sad.
broadband uptake is horrible. It's horrendous compared to the rest of the civilized world. The United States is way near the bottom.
Well, okay, but the U.S. is still a huge player, so I mean, you're not going to change over to digital distribution unless There's enough bandwidth for people to download these huge files in a reasonable amount of time. And then B, I mean, there's people that don't take their consoles online at all, let alone like with a shitty connection. I mean, you're gonna be segregating a huge majority of the market. I mean, what they say, people that take their Xbox 360 online is something like 60%. So half of the people that own a 360 don't even play games online.
I'm just being paranoid then.
I don't know. It just sounds like if you're going to go digital distribution, you want to make sure you can get the content to the people. Otherwise, you're not going to make any money.
Well, look at it like this: Sony with Warhawk and Little Big Planet are planning on putting out a download option, and then if you want, later on they're going to come out with a disc version of it. Is that a better way for you, Keith?
Definitely. But I would be one of those people who, even though I have it on my console, just from paranoia's sake, and yeah, I admit to being just a little bit paranoid, I would probably want to buy the disc version also, just so I have a hard copy.
So you would buy two versions, you're saying?
I'd consider it. I would seriously consider it, just so I would have it, in my hand someplace, not necessarily in the same place as my console.
I hope no one from like the game industry is going to listen to this because now they're gonna like be like, oh shit, people are dumb enough to buy two copies, and they'll like go crazy. Not saying you're dumb, but you know what I mean. It's just like
I totally understand.
I hate that on other podcasts when people be like, how much money would you pay to play the Halo 3 beta? And then they all like put numbers in the hundreds, and I'm like, great.
But
So
what,
the
what
next
we're talking about with Little Big Planet is a little bit different because I understand that they're going to release the online only version first, and then later you'll be able to buy the disc version. So I mean, we're not
Right.
talking about a simultaneous release of both. I mean, if that were the case, yeah, I would buy it one time with the disc. It's not like I would buy both, run out, buy both, have one on my console and one, the disc somewhere else.
And with Little Big Planet, why would you even want that game if you didn't have online? I mean, it's so user generated. I
Right.
mean, it's all about playing with other people or creating worlds that other people can interact in. I mean, interacting worlds with other people. If you're playing that game offline, then you're missing the entire game. All you get is cuddly little sack creatures.
Well, who knows if it's even really going to have an offline?
I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't. I want
Well,
games to expect online play. I mean, when they announced that Warhawk was online only, I was like, F yeah.
I expect you'll still be able to play whatever games that have either been created by other people or created by yourself offline.
Well, you'd have to download those, so that would imply some level of online.
Right, but it'd be a multi-offline game, multiplayer offline game. I mean, single player, multiplayer generated offline.
That person's going through a lot of trouble to not play with people. I don't like that person.
Yeah, that person sucks.
Well,
But
look, I'm
back
just
to the
saying.
point,
I will not invite them to my
GameFly does not
casino.
suck. GameFly's $1 raise does not suck. Who cares? It's only $1.
Oh yeah, and also, I mean, they opened up another distribution center, so I mean, it's like for the extra dollar. I mean, for me, I live on the East Coast, and their like shipping facility was all the way on the West Coast, so that sucked ass. But now there's one in Pittsburgh, so I mean, I'm in Philadelphia. That's like an hour and a half, 2 hour ride. Much better. I mean, the turnover rate for my games will probably be a lot faster. So I mean, for an account that I don't even remember exists, I mean, an extra $12 a year, I don't care. Whatever.
I think that's about all we have.
Who would have thought that GameFly would have sparked such a massive conversation about distribution and shit like that?
Well, I think it goes to a lot of different issues that at least have been ticking around inside my head lately about how most of these game producers are just out to make money. I think maybe I'm just being cynical. Anything else you guys wanted to say? Josh?
Well, you forgot the 360 people abusing powers.
360 people abuse powers?
Yeah,
When did this
apparently.
start?
I don't know. Apparently, some people were playing a game. I don't remember what game it was off the top of my head.
Shadowrun.
Yeah, Shadowrun, and some shit went down, and apparently one of the people who were kicked from the game was somebody who, I guess, watches over Xbox Live, and the people who kicked that person ended up being banned from Xbox Live.
So I think Microsoft's a little trigger happy with their bannings. Like they recently banned people for the hacked firmwares that they were getting putting out, and I'm all for banning people that aren't paying for things. I mean, I'm not exactly the most I don't know. I mean, I think everyone downloaded music at one point or another, and everyone kind of likes downloading things for free. But I mean,
No, I don't.
okay, but when it comes to consoles, like, I mean, I'm not gonna mod my console to play games for free. I mean, to me, that's just so crap and dangerous in terms of like voiding your warranty, possibly messing something up and ruining your purchase completely. I mean, I don't know. I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it. So I really don't mind seeing them go. But I guess they have an itchy trigger finger because they just like owned a couple people for like not too good of a reason.
No, it actually kind of makes you nervous too, because like on Xbox Live, there's a lot of shit talkers and I'd say children who act like they're really cool and think that being extremely rude is the way to be on there. And you don't know who you're dealing with. So for all you know, if you're taking shit from somebody, you say something back, you're actually saying it to somebody from Microsoft who watches over Xbox Live, and then you get banned for basically defending yourself.
And I mean, what if you'd paid for like a year's subscription and then they ban you at the start of your subscription? Are you going to get like your $49 back? I doubt it. So I mean, this is something you're paying for. So I mean, what exactly are you paying for? It's not for increased security or whatever. I mean, if anything, it's too secure in the sense they're willing to ban people on hearsay.
Could this be something like Microsoft's trying to improve their service?
I
Maybe
don't
they're going
think
about it with a heavy hand.
I don't think that you can monitor online play. I mean, the whole point of the ESRB rating saying gameplay may change during online play is because they know full well that kids are going to be talking about like fucking you, fucking your friends, and like butt fucking you while they fucking rape you. Like they'll say fuck as many times as they possibly can, and they think it's amazing, like Josh said. And it's just online players just have that attitude for the most part, especially Xbox Live or consoles, I'd say. On PS3, you see it a good amount as well. So I mean, it's just the mentality of online gamers. I mean, it's shit talking.
Really, I haven't seen anybody on PS3 like that. To me, it's just because 12-year-olds can't afford a $600 console right now.
Well, their parents will pay for it, but I mean, it's not as prevalent on the PlayStation Network, but it still exists.
And you know what's going to happen.
What?
Little kids getting on there and start swearing and doing all this shit. I said, you know what's going to happen, dork.
Yeah, I think eventually when Home comes out, when the open beta starts, at that point, yeah, I think it'll become a lot more prevalent just because of the type of people that will be attracted to more communal, more online type activities. Like right now, I can't say that there's a ton of stuff to do on the PS3 online yet.
Well, I mean, think about it. When they do finally blow open the gates of online, when you have, like, say, Home and Little Big Planet, right? So you have a game that totally lets you customize your environment in Little Big Planet and Home. So what's stopping people from, like, putting boobs all over their house and, like, putting boobs on their little sack man and running around and, like, going lol 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 and have, like, murder scenes all over the walls? Like, I mean,
Wait,
how are
what's
you going
wrong
to
with lol
moderate
lol
that?
lol?
Well, okay.
How is that offensive?
Lol 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 is acceptable. It's something that people with that mindset, they'll say lol lol lol. I mean, I hate the word lol.
It's not a word.
Like
Burr, burr, burr.
phonetically pronouncing LOL, just awful. But it's just
How do you feel about what the F?
what the F is acceptable? I mean, like stop putting shit on my body, David Blaine. That's totally
Yeah.
fine.
See how I just
But
sidetracked you?
but it's still. I mean, how are you going to moderate that? Are you going to moderate it? I mean, is the
Maybe.
little ESRB content may change when you're online? Is that enough to cover it? I don't know.
I think
It,
there are only a couple ways you can really tackle something like that, and that's you either do it with tools that you build into your programs, into your software or your
tools that
hardware, or
like
both.
detect boobies.
Maybe not detect boobies, but they let people using your content or downloading your content report abuse or whatever you want to call it, offensive content. That's one way you
Well,
build it in. Or you have
you have a
someone who's a Gestapo who searches out the downloadable content and looks at every little thing that's people are putting up.
Yeah, but what if you have your house? I mean, you invite someone into your house, they hit accept, and it just so happens that you have like, freaking porn all over your walls and you're playing porn on all your little monitors. But at the same time, it's like this is your house. I mean, you said you wanted to come in. I didn't like force you. You accepted. So,
That
I
would
mean,
be different. I mean, that's someone making the conscious choice to
well,
go
I mean,
into someone they either don't know in the real world, or they only have limited knowledge of that person online.
you're gonna have to. You can't blame the people for joining, and then you can't get flipped out when you join, and it turns out that they just like kiddie porned you or something.
No, but you can get flipped out when you download something either. I mean, we're speaking from our perspective, but I can see it from a parent's perspective. You don't want to download some content for your kid to play Little Big Planet, and it turns out to be, in your terms, kiddie porn dungeon all over. I mean, there has to be some sort of way to filter through this stuff.
Well, also in home, it's just a huge chat room, right? So with voice chat even. So what's stopping like pedophiles from running around and like talking to your kids, trying to get them into their house? And it's just like real life terror. Moderating home is going to be out of control.
Well, I think that'll be more easily moderated because if it's what it seems like, you can have an invisible moderator anywhere at any time, basically just listening to the conversations that are going on. And if they want, they could, I'm sure, record anything that's going on too. So I mean,
Yeah, but
and
the actual point of the story, guys, to bring it back, was that I guess they were playing Shadowrun or some game, and the Xbox representative that they didn't know who was a representative at the time, like just started flipping out and cussing everybody out. So they voted to boot him off of the game, and by booting the person who is the Xbox Live representative out, he in turn banned them from Xbox Live. So is that okay? Because he was the one who cussed everybody else out and flipped out and started threatening them?
certainly not.
I mean, it's not a matter of like how are they going to monitor PlayStation Home or is Xbox Live changing its policy and how they're monitoring everything. It's a matter of an Xbox Live representative started flipping out, got banned from a game, and then in turn banned the people who banned him.
It's like when you call customer service for any major company, they often tell you this call may be recorded for quality. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Either you trust your employees and you don't really have to monitor them, or you need to monitor them. And maybe 360's or Microsoft's been really lax in their hiring practices, and they're hiring schlubs who don't really care how they treat people.
Well, I guess in the end everything turned out okay because they got unbanned. But in order to get themselves unbanned, they had to like catch the guy and like talk about his gamer tag out loud, and then he changed his gamer tag, and then they caught him again, and then they unchanged it. So, they eventually got unbanned, but at the same time, it's just like out of control with the moderation. They need to be more hands off. Ban people for firmware, sure, but don't have employees that go postal and then take it out on paying customers.
Exactly.
But there's no real way to preemptively stop that sort of thing from happening. I think it's just something that you just are always going to have in any online community. You're going to have people who abuse their powers. I think we've all probably participated on forums where either a moderator or even an admin has just been a little bit insane with the power and how they wielded it. But shit happens. And I think that's all we had for this week's podcast.
That's all, folks.
Any
Yay.
parting thoughts? Shout outs?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Chris, who's going through a hard time right now, but we're all here for him. And also to my friend Kyle's little squirrel who likes to have nuts in his mouth, Mr. Cheekers.
Mr.
I love you,
Cheekers.
buddy. You're great.
Chris, you're awesome. Kyle Squirrel, go fuck yourself.
Everybody out there, take care, and we're out.
Peace.
Beep beep beep.
Where's the Josh?
Sorry, Josh is supposed to be crazy. Say Alibaba?
I think he did.